Hi, guys, and welcome to gskptv, Georgia Sunflower, Kansas Peach on YouTube. Trending America's Next Top Model. Is this a witch hunt? Come on back. Let's talk about it. Hello, and welcome to gskptv, also known as Georgia Sunflower, Kansas Peach, where we do reviews on movies, TV, life, books. We can talk about it all here, a safe place without judgment, where we can learn from each other. You teach me and I teach you. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you for joining me today. It is 7:59 on February 22nd. This is the last Sunday of February. This month has flown by. I just cannot believe how fast this month has gone by. It is almost over already. I just can't believe it. Happy birthday to all the Februarians. I again thank you all for being here. Thank you to my peach trees and my sunflower seeds. Yes, thank you to all of my subscribers, new and those that have been here since the beginning of my little endeavor. I appreciate you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I cannot do it without you. All right. As you know, February is Black History Month, and I hope that you all have been joining me for our Black History Fun Facts. I've been dropping a new fact, a fact that is not common to us every week of February, and I think next weekend will be my last Black History Fun Fact for the month. Um, I'm gonna try to make a habit of dropping a fact every now and then, just so we can all keep current and learn history together. I don't know everything. We can learn together, as I like to say. Um, Again, thank you for joining me. Um, let's get to the matters at hand. Um, at the beginning of the video, my little intro, you notice that I mentioned America's Next Top Model. Currently, there is a series playing on Netflix that is called Reality Check, America's Next Top Model. Um, okay, before I get to that, I want to share something with you. As I mentioned before, I was talking about Black History. Before the end of the month, I want to share a beautiful Black History program that I went to today after church. I was blessed to be able to be in the presence of descendants of the Buffalo Soldiers. Um, the program was very moving. Um, if at all possible, I want to share some of the footage that I got. Um, I think it's very important to share those things because um, not too long ago, maybe a week or so ago, the last surviving Buffalo soldier passed away. And I think it's very important that we keep abreast of our history, keep our legacies and legends alive. Um, I just thought it was a very important part, and I think it's a very important part of our history. Buffalo Soldiers. Again, I was able to meet descendants of those people, um, current and valid authors. I mean authors. I'm sorry. Um, I got everybody's autograph. Took a picture with everybody. Again, I'm gonna try to put something together because I would like to share that with y'all. Okay, so um, we'll talk about that later. And right now, let's get to what we came here for. Okay. Sorry. Okay. Anyway, as I stated at the beginning of the video, they are talking Tyra Banks. Okay. And America's Next Top Model. There's a series on um, Netflix. I think it's like three or four parts. It's not a lot. It's not very long. Um as you know, I like to play a clip. Now, this clip that I'm about to play is like 8 or 9 minutes long. So, I don't know if I'm going to play the entire clip. I probably will because I think it's like again, it's like 8 or 9 minutes long. I would like for you to see what is said about her. And let's just get to the clip. And let me stop talking and play the clip.
You thought you knew what you needed until you found what you wanted. Bring it. It's a little difficult for me to talk about production because that's not my territory. We were all rooting for you. But I did become a master editor. Look at this waist. You have the smallest waist in the world. Yeah, there's some dumb.
Tyra, she seems to struggle with taking accountability. She essentially blames the viewers.
You guys were demanding it. The viewers wanted more and more.
I believe Tyra believes that statement to be true. She can tiptoe and dance around Story and saying, oh, Story's not my department. She was very involved in Story. I'm just going to say that.
I do think that regardless of whether someone asks for something or wants it, again, acting as an adult who's responsible, you also say no to certain things, even when they want it. Right? Mom and Dad, we say no.
Tyra, did she have any creative control in this docuseries?
None. Zero. Tyra had no creative control.
Hindsight is 2020 for all of us. It just so happens that a lot of the things that are 2020 for me happened in front of the world.
Tyra in the hot seat. The 52-year-old actually apologizing several times over the 3-episode docuseries, which was shot a year ago. Once to the contestant she pressured to close a gap in her teeth.
There were agents that would tell me she will not work with those people. It's just not going to happen. That's what they told me.
Who came up with what each of the makeovers would be?
It was absolutely Tyra.
Another moment Tyra admits went too far.
We were all rooting for you. How dare you? I lost it. It was probably bigger than her.
Clearly, she had a sort of snap, and that was it. And I actually thought they were going to stop it. It was the same rules for everybody. If you're going to go off the rails, we're going to allow it, and we're going to film it, and we're going to put it on TV.
And when it comes to the outrageous, over-the-top photo shoots, remember the tarantulas, the meat outfits, coffins, and crime scenes?
I absolutely believe the intention behind the show got lost. I think it's clear in the documentary. You know, for me, the real breaking point and the immediate moment of divide was the race swapping photo shoot. I remember vividly that meeting where Tyra said, I want to do this, and I want to do this to celebrate women of color. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, and I'll be honest with you, in that moment, people ask me all the time, why didn't you say something? Well, I was here to support her. This was her show. She had this reason that made no sense to me. How are you going to support and, you know, and uplift women of color by painting white women black? Tyra swore to me I would not wear this. She goes, Jay, I would never do this to you. I'll say this. If she really wanted to protect me, she would have stood next to me and delivered that creative. The clip that has followed me to this day is me standing alone on camera, Chiron, photo shoot creative director, and people knew I was producing as well. We're switching your ethnicities. And so I wore that.
I didn't think it was controversial, but then we put it out there and the world was like, are you crazy? Have you lost your mind?
Tyra did pride herself on coming up with the creative on the photo shoot, you know, perhaps sometimes with various other members of the team.
Looking at the show now through the 2020 lens, it's an issue, and I understand 100%.
I've never experienced a more difficult work environment, a more toxic work environment than that show. It wasn't right then, and now we're seeing it isn't right now.
Look back with hindsight, it's certainly easier to judge and be critical. That being said, were there things that perhaps, you know, she got carried away or the production got carried away? I would say yes.
That is the only way you change. That is the only way you get better. It's by somebody calling you out on your...
Where Tyra stayed quiet, season 2 contestant Shandy Sullivan alleges she was sexually assaulted after a night of drinking while cameras were rolling.
I was blacked out. No one did anything to stop it.
Okay. Now, first off, to me, and just gonna tell you, I'm not a big fan of Tyra Banks. You know, I don't dislike her. You know, but I watched America's Top Models 100 years ago. You know, when they had Eva Marcellus and I can't think of the black girl that was the plus size model. That's when I watched it. Now, all these things that they had the models do or whatever, I really don't see what the problem is. First off, the name of the series is Reality Check, America's Next Top Model, and it is currently on Netflix. There are only 3 parts to the little series. I think it's a witch hunt. That's what I just think it's a witch hunt. And the reason why I think it's a witch hunt is because first let's get the characters out of the way, because I mean that's just how I feel about it. They're characters. It's Tyra Banks, Mr. Miss J. Alexander, Mr. Miss J. Manuel, Nigel Barker. Ugh, I cannot talk. Nigel Barker was the photographer. Janice Dickerson, she was a judge. Ken Mock, he was, I believe, an executive producer or something right along in there with Tyra. But I feel like this is a witch hunt. It really is. Because, for one, a lot of these girls, and it is on video, said out loud, I would do anything to be America's Next Top Model. And when this program came out, it was during the time of Survivor, Fear Factor, all them old crazy shows like that. And on those shows, they was eating bugs, they was eating poop, they were eating guts, they were jumping in mud, buckets of mud, they was doing all kind of crazy and gross stuff. So, because like they said, there was part where they said, oh, they had the spiders on them and this, that. It was one spider. It's not like they were made to stand in a room full of hundreds and thousands and millions of spiders. It was one spider. Now, I can understand if you're so terrified of the spider, you shouldn't be made or forced to do anything. And they were not. They were given the choice, do it or don't. If you don't do it, you go home. That's not force. That's not manipulation. That's playing straight out. If you don't want to do what these people ask to get their job, within knowing that you're going to be expected to do some outrageous things, then you shouldn't be there. Now, was Tyra absolutely perfectly right in everything she did? No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. We're not going to say that. Now, they had an aspect of racism, but you saw that from the very beginning. From the very beginning, you already knew Tyra wasn't doing nothing but trying to make money just like all the rest of them were. And you knew there wasn't going to be a whole lot of black girls winning American Top Model. And whenever they did or do pick somebody, it's going to look just like the regular same old skinny white girl, period. Period. So you could not expect much more from a program that was literally run by white America Hollywood, though Tyra Banks was the spokesperson for it. Okay. Now, of course, Tyra Banks is the draw. She's the star of the show. That's what really made America's next top model was and is Tyra Banks. Nobody else. I'm sorry. Now, again, if you weren't up to fulfill the tasks, you should not have been there. Now, did Tyra do some questionable things? Absolutely. Absolutely. And she even admitted to doing some questionable things, after the fact, like she said, 2020 hindsight, after looking back. Yeah, she made some mistakes, but who doesn't? They all did. No one was perfect in that scenario. And if you ask me, the men should be held more accountable, because if they are trying to hold Tyra Banks accountable for assaults and things of that nature, you had 3 grown, big-footed men standing up there looking. Why didn't they step in? If you saw these things happening and you knew these young girls were going through all this stuff, there were 3 Bigfoot rusty men. Okay? I don't care if they did have on a dress. I don't care if they were wearing high heels. I don't care if they had on lipstick. They were still men. And if those young girls were getting assaulted like that, they got nieces. They got children. They got little cousins. All that. They should have stopped it. If it was as bad as they say it was. Tyra is not the only one to hold accountable for that. They all four worked up there and was looking and watching and running and doing them girls however it was being done. But they are now using Tyra as the scapegoat because for some reason, I don't even know why this has even come out after all these years. But Tyra is still on the TV. And then the episode where the girl says she was sexually assaulted. You were not sexually assaulted. Not how you were grinding and licking and lapping and all over that boy. Now we've got to take some accountability. Nobody poured all that liquor down your throat. I didn't see you trying to fight him off. I didn't hear you say not one time, stop. And they recorded it. It's on film. Now, mind you, I am not, let me say it again. I am not victim shaming. I would never. And let's make that clear right now. I would never victim shame because I've been a victim. But in this case, I don't know. You may have to take a little accountability for that one. Just a little. You should have been more careful about drinking. You shouldn't have been flirting and flipping around with him. You should have made it very clear. I have a boyfriend. I don't conduct myself. If nothing else, I don't conduct myself like that. If you felt that uncomfortable when you were still conscious, you should have said something. Now you done flirted with this man all night long. You've gone through with it. Now you want to, now we're doing the assault. You should have done like that one little black girl. I think her name was Danny. When she was uncomfortable, she said, "Oh, wait a minute." Soon as she got uncomfortable, that girl said, "Hey." Now she had a right to do something. That girl said, as soon, she didn't wait till she got drunk. She didn't wait till lunch. She didn't do, as soon. She didn't wait till after they done did it and everything else and ain't done it and all that. That girl said, as soon as I felt uncomfortable, I said something. That girl stopped the shooting. She said, "Hey, he keep putting his hands all over me. I'm uncomfortable. I don't like it. I don't like it." And they sat there and looked stupid and said something stupid. And that girl went and got her lawyer. Now that baby girl was handling her business. That's what you should have done, Miss Thing. That's what you should have done. Instead of licking all down that man's throat. Instead of pouring wine down your throat and all that. You wasn't so uncomfortable when you crawled up in there with him. I watched the series. I watched it. And when you crawled in that hot tub with that man, you was not uncomfortable. Because if you had have been, you wouldn't have got in the... I just don't believe that. I don't believe you would have got... If you were that uncomfortable with him, how about let's go back further than that? If you were that uncomfortable with them, when y'all was riding around on the little mini bikes or the whatever they were called, the little scooters, why didn't you say then? Oh, can we? Can I change scooter drivers? Because he just, I don't know. He just, that's what I would have done. I wouldn't have made a big deal out of it, and I wouldn't have been up trying to fake up and cry and all that old. I would have, look, Tyra, y'all, I don't mean to be a problem, but oh boy, it gives me the creeps. Can I switch? Can we get me another? I don't have no problem with being on the scooters, and I don't mind this, that, and the other. But I'm just, we just ain't working. I'm just uncomfortable. And nobody said none of that. She ain't said that not one time. Not that I saw. I didn't see her tell them. Now, after the fact, after you done it with the boy, yeah, you sitting up there doing that old dramatic, gone with the wind, crying and rolling all on the floor because you had to call. Now, that's another thing. You knew you were in this house to be filmed 24/7. You knew that. That was not something that they sprung on you. I'm not trying to defend anybody. I'm just trying to understand, because this triggered traumatic. I don't know what it is. I don't know. Y'all just, and then it don't make any sense because you didn't conduct yourself like the person that you claim you are now. Because in one breath you said, I remember everything. But then in the next breath, oh, it was a blur. Either you remember or you don't. Which one is it? Because you're accusing somebody of a very serious crime. If it was even a crime. Because I don't know of any charges being pressed or anything of that nature. I know they videoed when you were talking to him on the phone and asking him if he had any kind of diseases and things of that nature. But I never heard anything about charges being pressed against this individual because of improper behavior with you. I haven't heard that, or I didn't see it in the course of the documentary. I could have missed it. I don't think so, because I tried to, I paid attention the whole time. I didn't see that. They talked about you, and you talked about you and your boyfriend, and you tried to stick it, hang it out, and he moved to New York, but you couldn't do it because people were calling you bad names on the street and calling you 304s, and he just couldn't take it. And do you blame him? Because the way it looks on film, it looks like you are a willing participant. Trust me, I know what it is to be drunk and partying with your girls and out all night, and you have grown, you think you so grown now, and And I sure couldn't imagine what it would have been like being halfway across the world. Huh, T? I think I would have been much more frightened being halfway across the world. Again, I'm not victim shaming. But we've got to take some accountability. That's like the young woman, it might even still been Danny, the one that had the gap in her teeth. She said, I'll do anything to be America's next top model. So I am going to close my gap. Prior to that, she said she wasn't going to close it because the gap is her. That's what makes her. But then she changed her mind and she had her gap permanently closed. And then the following season, they had a white girl come on, or a couple seasons later, a white girl come on with a gap in her tooth. And Tyra Banks stood up there and told her that was beautiful. We gonna do the Lauren Hutton. And I love me some Laura Hutton. I thought that woman, she had the most beautiful eyes. They were just, ooh, they were so pretty, they were scary to me. No shade to Lauren Hutton. This is when Tyra was wrong. This is a time. But she didn't force you to close your gap. You could have said no and went home. But you decided that you wanted to be on America's Next Top Model so bad that you had it closed. She didn't make you do that. Those were her rules to play her game, and you cannot be mad at her for that. What you could have done was packed your stuff and went home earlier than she sent you, because after you closed up your gap, she still sent you home. When in fact, you should have stood on your morals and what you thought was right, regardless to what Tyra said. And I know you were facing a chance of a lifetime. Even after all of that, she turned around and sent you home and allowed somebody else to come up with the same gap to stay. Now, Tyra was wrong for that. She was dead wrong for that. And she was dead wrong when she did the race switching. She's running around painting the white girls black, but she didn't paint the black girls white. She didn't do that. And them white girls looked ridiculous. They didn't look anywhere near African American, black, nowhere. I don't care how dark a makeup you put on them. They didn't look like black girls. And them cheap, funky, nappy, dry wigs they had on them. Get out of here, Tyra. You was wrong for that too. You was dead wrong for that. And you were also dead wrong for all the terrible little, what were they, missions or whatever that you gave to the black girls. You dogged them black girls. You dogged them. I watched it. And I don't mean physically dogged them. You did spiritually. You were supposed to be a sister to them, a big sister to them girls. But you were treating them just like the industry was already treating them. Yet and still, they signed up for that. They signed up for it. So you can't be mad at it. Now here it is 30 years later, 15, 20 years later, and now all of a sudden, oh, they're just so traumatized. You should have told her. You should have told her. Now here's where the witch hunt comes in. Nigel, Janice, Mr. Miss J 1 and 2, they all got fired. They all got fired. Miss J later had a stroke. Tyra, I guess, hasn't said. Now, mind you, Tyra got fired too. Uh-huh. Somebody else took over. The next top model, somebody else took over. Tyra got fired too. So how is it you think Tyra had something to do with you all getting fired? How is it all Tyra's boss when she has a boss too? And then she turned around and get fired right in behind y'all. But you ain't said nothing about that, right? Oh, okay. So there's no apology for Tyra. Because you guys have been bad mouthing her because you thought she fired you when in fact somebody else fired all of y'all. Right? She doesn't deserve an apology because she made mistakes. She was starting out fresh and new just like you were. She was trying to make money just like you were. Everybody that came on that show, you thought you was going to be a rich and famous, glamorous model. But you didn't become that. Because you didn't have what it takes, obviously. Because Eva and that plus size black girl, that plus size white girl, they was modeling. They was doing movies. They was doing music. They was doing what they was doing it. So you can't blame that on Tyra. You won. It was your job to do whatever it took for you to keep it going. That wasn't Tyra's job. That was not Tyra's job. Now, I advise you to watch it for yourself and come up with your own conclusions. But to me, it looked like a witch hunt. Mr. J or Miss J or whatever, she done had a stroke now, and Tyra ain't looked back. I think that has a lot to do with this witch hunt because they feel like because Jay and Nigel and all them that all visited and met, they feel like she ought to come and see them. Why would she come and see you? Y'all been sitting around talking about her like a dog. I wouldn't come see you neither. Give a damn about your stroke. You didn't give a damn about me when you was running around there bad mouthing me when you thought you was in good health. You was all on the TV, all three of y'all, when you got fired, talking about Tyra like a dog. And she made you, basically. And she made you. And now that you low sick, Mr. J, how you know she ain't been sick in between the times before you got sick? You wasn't going to see her. You were all up on the Entertainment Tonight and all that, trying to badmouth her because you got fired. And you tried to blame her for getting fired. When in fact, everybody's name was on the chopping block. You all just went first. And then they had that ugly, melted face, Janice, whatever her name is. She don't have no room to judge nobody. Ever. Before American's Top Model or after. That woman she is a typical white woman. Built just like a ruler. She was not, y'all could have picked somebody else for that. It's some pretty white girls out there. You could have picked older women too. There's some that look way better than her that you could have put up that crazy drunk, just like Jay, what's his name, said, Silicon Valley faced that heifer. She didn't have no business up there trying to judge nobody. You was wrong for that too, Tyra. I couldn't stand her. She just almost, and especially when it came to the black models, she just almost called them. That's all she had left to say. She called them fat, ugly, everything else but the N word. That's the only thing she had left to say. And she's sitting up there looking like an anorexic camel. I know you did. I could not stand her. That's the only thing about America's Next Top Model I didn't like. Everybody else I could deal with. I ain't have no problem with. Until they got fired, according to the series, After they got fired, then they want to badmouth and this, that, and the other, and da 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 da. But hey, whatever. But it was okay. It wasn't as dramatic and all out there as they act like, and she was just, oh, they was just doing so much crazy stuff. Yeah, they did some crazy stuff. Some of the girls were talking about how um they did make them do some questionable things. A young woman said that she was explaining how her mother had been paralyzed by gunfire, and they made her do a photo shoot that was as if she was shot in the head. I thought that was so distasteful. That was very much distasteful, Tyra. And she has apologized for that. But come on, Tyra. You got to take some accountability for some of the stuff that you did too. Now, if she did she dog them girls? I didn't see where she dogged them. I don't see where I did not see where she mistreated them girls. They had access to food, clothes, water. I don't see. I don't see now. I just don't see it. And like I said, I'm no fan, no big crazy fan of Tyra Banks. I don't dislike Tyra Banks either. That's, I just didn't see it. I saw a bunch of foolish young girls doing what they wanted to do. And when the consequences came back to slap them in the face, now it's somebody else's fault. Now, 2020 hindsight is someone else's fault. Where were your parents? Well, a lot of the girls, 18, 21, they done decided I'm grown, I'm gone. So parents didn't get to have a say so. But at the same time, they're sitting up crying for their parents. I think that this film, instead of it being a witch hunt, this should have been lessons learned for young people. And for what this industry will do to you. That means Tyra too, because she was young and foolish too. That's why she did the young and foolish things that she did. And allowed. Because she was young and foolish too. She didn't really know no better. A lot of things that she did. She didn't know. She's about the same age as they were. I don't know what else you could have expected from her. She wasn't there to be your mother. She was there to try to make money just like you. She wasn't there to try to be your friend. She was there to be your boss. And you all were legally grown. Let you tell it. So, because we are calling ourselves adults, don't we have to take some accountability for our actions? Again, I am not victim shaming. I watched the series and I tried to watch it very open mindedly because, again, Tyra made lots of mistakes. She made lots of mistakes. She absolutely made mistakes. But Did she mistreat those girls? I don't think so. I don't think so. And like this, and like I said earlier, the things that she had those girls doing, that was in a time when them kids was doing that kind of crazy stuff. Again, Fear Factor, Survivor, Big Brother, all them old foolish shows like that. That's what they were doing during those times. That was the inception of that kind of crazy stuff. So no, I don't feel like um Tyra mistreated those girls, because that's the era we grew up in. But this era that's coming up, oh gosh, they're triggered and sick. Every time you turn around, they get triggered by bug spray. They get triggered at a fly swatter. Everything's a trigger, or it's insomnia, or it's some kind of sickness, or something. Shit, it don't make no sense how weird and crazy these kids are nowadays. It just doesn't make any sense. Everything is not a phobia or a ick. A psychosis or a psychosis or something. No, a cosis. Every time you turn around, it's always something dramatic. No. So I don't see it. If I were you, I would advise you to watch it. Again, it's on Netflix. It's called Reality Check. America's Next Top Model. I want to thank you guys for watching me. I think I've come to the end of my review rant for, again, America's Next Top Model Reality Check. I hope you all have been enjoying my fun facts. Black History is coming to the close of February. So Black History Month is coming to an end. But we're going to continue to learn, because we're Black History 365. Thank you again, I say, for joining me and watching me. I love you to all my peach trees and sunflower seeds. And like I always say, wear your mask, wash your hands. We still got COVID out here. We still got flu out here. We still got all kinds of things that are just lurking and waiting to make us sick. This weather has been ridiculous. 10, 15, 17, 30 one day. The next day, oh my goodness, it is 70 degrees. So you guys, we just have to be careful and watch out for one another. And as I always say, I am my brother's keeper. Again, thank you for watching. Like, comment, subscribe. I love you. Bye.